A thief in the night, death, where is your sting? Episode 4. The fulfillment of one covenant and the start of another. Jesus' prayer in the Garden of Gethsemane, the Last Supper, written and narrated by religious family. The passages of scripture are from the English Standard Version with Strong's, acquired from the Accordance Bible software. The scripture citation and text citations will be narrated along with the passages of scripture themselves, and the bibliography for this video can be found in the description of this video. Then Jesus went with them to a place called Gethsemane, and he said to his disciples, "Sit here while I go over there and pray." And talking with Peter and two sons of Zebedee, he began to be sorrowful and troubled. Then he said to them, "My soul is very sorrowful, even to death. Remain here and watch with me." And going a little farther, he fell on his face and prayed, saying, "My Father, if it be possible, let this cup pass from me. Nevertheless, nor as I will, but as you will." And he came to the disciples and found them sleeping. And he said to Peter, "So you could not watch with me 1 hour? Watch and pray, that you may not enter the temptation. The spirit indeed is willing, but the flesh is weak." Again, for the second time, he went away and prayed, My Father, if this cannot pass unless I drink it, your will be done." And again he came and found them sleeping, for their eyes were heavy. So leaving them again, he went away and prayed for the third time, saying the same words again. Then he came to the disciples and said to them, "Sleep and take your rest later. See, the hour is at hand, and the Son of Man is betrayed into the hands of sinners. Rise, let us be going. See, my betrayer is at hand." Matthew chapter 26, verses 36 through 46, from the ESV with Strong's, from the Accordance Bible software. Absalom stood behind Jesus with his hand on Jesus' shoulder as he prayed, and it took every ounce of willpower of that Absalom had to not begin weeping and wailing in sadness and mourning, but instead he shed tears with along with Jesus. Jesus also had been so stressed to the point that his sweat was a mixture of sweat and blood that ran down his face and stained his clothes. And Absalom mourned not only for the coming crucifixion of Jesus, God's one and only Son, but out of his own desire to give comfort to Jesus, but not knowing the words, and but choosing to silently stand with him because he knew that no words would be able to ease his sadness. Now, before the feast of the Passover, when Jesus knew that his hour had come to depart out of this world to the Father, having loved his own who were in the world, he loved them to the end. During supper, when the devil had already put it into the heart of Judas Iscariot, Simon's son, to betray him, Jesus, knowing that the Father had given all things into his hands and that he had come from God and was going back to God, rose from supper. He laid aside his outer garments and taking a towel, tied it around his waist. Then he poured water into a basin and began to wash the disciples' feet and to wipe them with the towel that was wrapped around him. He came to Simon Peter, who said to him, Lord, do you wash my feet? Jesus answered him, What am I doing you don't understand now, but afterwards you will understand. Peter said to him, You shall never wash my feet. Jesus answered, If I do not wash your feet, you have no share with me. Simon Peter said to him, Lord, my feet only as not only my feet, not my feet only, but also my hands and my head. Jesus said to him, The one who has bathed does not need to wash except for his feet, but it is completely clean. And you are clean, but not every one of you, for he knew who was to betray him. That was why he said, Not all of you are clean. When he had washed their feet and put on his outer garments and resumed his place, he said to them, Do you understand what I have done to you? You called me teacher and Lord, and you are right, for so I am. If the, if I then, your Lord and teacher, have washed your feet, you also ought to wash one another's feet. For I have given you an example that you also should do just as I have done to you. Truly I say to you, servant is not greater than his master, nor is a messenger greater than the one who sent him. If you know these things, blessed are you if you do them. John chapter 13, verse 17. Um, the tradition of Passover is a Jewish holiday done in remembrance of Moses leading the Israelites out of Egypt, and a time of remembering both the suffering the Jewish people experienced in Egypt in their slavery, as well as God delivering them from the Egyptians through Moses, and that and is celebrated today in the hopes of God's continual blessing of the Jewish people, and that in all future and current hardships that God will be with them and deliver them from those as well. Um, throughout the practice, throughout the celebration, people drink multiple cups of wine and eat of unleavened bread, and the these are the illustration and representation that have become our communion, and we see this principle set up in the Last Supper and what is said, where Jesus said, "I've not come to abolish the covenant, the old covenant, but I have come to fulfill the covenant." And on this night, I will establish new covenant. And then went on to say, the wine represents my blood that was poured out for you, or that will be poured out for you. And then the bread represents the body that was broken for us. And this further foreshadows what would happen later this week with the events of Good Friday, but it's also a reminder of the immense sacrificial love that God used, and we see Jesus, even though he is fully God and fully man and is perfect, we see him still experience these very sad, very negative and strong emotions of grief and stress that we too experience. And like Jesus, when we are called to do as God calls us to do, we will often be called to things that in circumstances that are not ideal to us. And that can be a very scary and stressful thing. Like we see with Jesus in this story for today, um, where people have talked about how he was stressed to the extent not only that he was sweating, but that he had started to bleed. And as we experience these different hardships in our lives of loss and stress due to current circumstances or fear of the future circumstances, we can show God's love to other people in those moments, even when we don't know what to say to people, um, by by acting like Absalom and doing things similar to what Jesus asked of the disciples, of just letting people around us know that we love them, know that we care about them, and know that we are here for them and will support them and love and care for them, and will encourage to pray for them in their relationship with God and the current struggles and obstacles that they face. And with that being said, may God be with you, and see you next time. Bye.